G'day again, YouTube universe. Ryan coming back at ya on a Friday afternoon. Gonna try and do 3 pieces of content today. Shout out to a couple of friends in our open source community who inspired most of this content. You know who you are. So the first thing we're going to do today is talk about manual actions and the power of manual actions. And it sounds really boring and really manual, but actually what it is a use case that I don't think a lot of people think about high level for. And what I love to do is find, use cases that high level can be applied to in any industry vertical or niche, as the Americans say. So let's get right into it. So manual actions. What the hell are manual actions? Well, if you don't know, manual actions, right, used to appear, and I believe they still do, but they do appear in the dashboard under its own element. And a manual action can be either a call or an SMS. Now, this is a follow-up action that a workflow has to produce to say, you need to call that person back, you need to SMS them back, right? And they can be assigned based on a campaign or a workflow. So if you're running a workflow that sent an SMS to a bunch of people and you wanted to call everybody back, right? You would assign yourself step 1, send the SMS, and then you probably wait 3 days and then assign a manual action, right? And then you assign it to a user and the user logs in and they see all their manual actions right here, right? So it's sort of like a follow-up action, right? Anyway, so you've always been able to click on go to manual actions like this and you get a big list, right? Now, if you didn't know how to get there from the dashboard, I'll show you how you can get there from conversations, manual actions, right? It's very well hidden. Don't know why. Super powerful. Anyway, you can filter this view on different types of workflows and campaigns or people. So let's set the scene. If you had a customer or you're thinking about prospecting into type of businesses that have people who have headsets, they're in an office, and their job is to sell solar panels to homeowners, right? For instance, whatever the case may be, there's a version of a call center baked into their office process, their back office process, right? So it's then your ability to be able to identify that that is part of the business process and talk about manual actions as an extension of what you're already potentially offering through high level, which is likely going to be marketing automation and various other bits and pieces that high level is so famous for being a use case for. So manual actions. Who cares? But once you've got your phone number and everything sorted out, you can have a phone number assigned to each user. Each user can be assigned their own contacts, which means anybody can log in, see who they need to call. And if we click Let's Start, it'll actually start this power dialer where it just starts dialing everybody. And then once you've finished that phone call, I'll just kill that phone call. It actually asks for the call outcome. So I say, well, they didn't answer. They were busy. Voicemail completed. If I click completed, this is currently on pause. I now have some time to make some notes. Let's say I did have the phone call. I then can make an appointment. Let's say I had an appointment with him. Or I can assign myself a task, follow up tomorrow, see all the previous activity from this person, see all the conversations from this person, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully by the time you've sort of gone through that, this little green counter icon has already moved on to the next lead. Boom. Dialing the next person, right? I'm going to hang up. Completed. On to the next person, right? So the speed and efficiency in which you can deploy this for anybody, even they don't need calling staff, but if they have a need to follow up a volume of people at any one point in time, use manual actions and you speed through them like this. Now, that screen talking about the call outcomes is also massively powerful, right? So if you have a pipeline of people that you're trying to get from early stages to late stages, which is probably some sort of sale outcome, your stages might look like contacted, etc., etc. But if voice is a predominant channel, right, or SMS and voice are the two predominant channels that business uses to communicate with prospects, to move them through those funnels, real estate, etc., etc., those classic consumer ones aren't going to probably use email. They're going to use phone, right? They're going to have those conversations, qualify them in, etc., etc. But the phone is so important because it dictates what the next steps would be in terms of the follow-up. And real estate's a classic one because you call someone, they don't answer. Okay, what do? You got to follow them up in 4 hours. Okay, cool, right? But you're interested to see, like, what are the success rates of the phone, right? What are your connects, right? How many times do we get a voicemail for each dial? How many times do we get a connect for each dial? Now, this starts to go way beyond real estate, and it starts to apply to sales development teams for high-tech companies. Literally every technology company that's high growth in somewhere like, Silicon Valley or whatever, deploys sales specialization teams called SDRs or BDRs who just sit there and do outbound calling. If you could tell them that this was a system that they could use to get major analytics in their call reporting, and everything's done by digital soft phone, you could integrate this with HubSpot, blah blah blah. The possibilities are endless, right? So you start to really see that these 3 or 4 features that we're talking about here can apply universally into any sales team that uses voice as a predominant channel. So I am going on a bit, so I'm going to try and shorten it up a little bit here. But what I do, right, is you've got the opportunities in the pipeline. And when I do the demonstration for this, I don't just say, here's a whole list of people that you've called and they end up somewhere and you're dragging and dropping them and doing whatever, because you're not doing that. That screen that came up when you called them could be used to automatically put them in one of these buckets. And the way you do that is you create a workflow, and the trigger is the call status. The call direction is an outgoing call. And then you can say, well, if the call was completed, put them in this stage of the pipeline. And I should say, is it stage or status? Stage, right? So if the call is completed, great. What do we want to do? We want to add or update, right, the opportunity and move it to a different stage, right? If the call status was busy, meaning it was engaged, go and do something else, right? And then not only can you automatically move every contact into its appropriate stage in the pipeline like this, it also allows for really, really great, so the efficiencies of being able to organize the information like this, and then layer in, right, the ability to report on this information like a professional call center, right? And of course, that is in reporting. It is in the 2 things here. Agent reporting, where it's like, so each user has their own phone number. They're working on their own system. Here's all their opportunities, right? How many leads do they work on? How many do they win? How many blah, blah, blah. Look at the metrics. How many times do they use some sort of automation to call? Manual action calls, total calls. They used a dialer or not, right? Like, it's crazy. Their efficiency, their velocity. You show these graphs to people that haven't seen this stuff before, they just get blown away, right? And of course, this is, by different pipelines. So if you've got 3 different product lines, which this customer did, they were selling real estate software. They had one called Designly Pro. They had another webinar, they had Eagle, websites, whatever, right? So different pipeline, different product or service. And of course, when you've got multiple people here, you can select 2 or more people and run a comparative analysis, aka leaderboard, to show you who in that boiler room is performing best, right? And show that in a date range and compare it to another date range. Like, it's crazy. The amount of functionality that's here is ridiculous. Then you lay that onto the efficiencies of the appointment report to show who's booking the most appointments that are actually being confirmed, that are actually showing up, etc., etc., etc. Right? It's insane, right? If you're not already using part of this functionality to sell more of GHL as a service, and this is beautiful because there's no fulfillment here. It's just throw some people on headsets into the system and off they go. If you're not using this, do it. It'll make you a ton of money. Stay frosty, and if you want a coaching session on this, number between 1 and 100, put it in the comments. Otherwise, there will be a link to book a session with me. I do have them up and running now. Stay frosty. Thanks for your time.